studio at the Connecticut School of Broadcasting in Charlotte. This is Adrian Brown with As the Buckle Turns. Buckle up, bucklers. Episode 18 in your face right here. And I'd like to thank everybody that's coming in. If you're tuning in for the first time, I appreciate you all. And no matter where you're listening, this podcast is available, as I always say, in multiple locations. You can find it on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Castbox, Google Play, and you got limited episodes on Soundcloud and Podbean. And like I said, no matter where you listen to, please give a like, subscribe, share, follow. Let's spread the word about this. Let's get it out and leave some reviews. As always, that helps this get out quicker more than anything. You catch it from a retweet or a share or something like that. Retweet it, share it again yourself. We're all in this together. Let's keep doing this together, everybody. Snow's bearing down on us here in the Carolinas for a minute. So, hopefully I'm trying to get into the studio and get this knocked out and edited and on its way to you guys for something to listen to for the weekend. Because everything's clear right now. We got some rain coming through here. Sidebar right here with the weather report, everybody. But we got, I don't know. It could always go either way in the South when it comes to snow around these parts. It could either be blanketed with all kinds of nonsense, or it could just be a couple inches but a lot of ice. That's the issue down here. We usually get a lot of ice, and a lot of people still don't know how to drive in ice, which is why they shut everything down so much a lot of times, because everybody loses their minds when it comes to things like that. So, wish me luck. Send me some prayers and make sure, I get out of here safely this evening and everything. Because like I said, the rain and the temperatures dropping at the moment. But I made it here to the studio just to make sure I got this recorded for you guys today. So weather report aside, I know this hasn't reached the numbers that may warrant this or anything like that. But, I'm a creative person. Most of you know I'm a graphic designer, and that helps me get my artistic side out a lot of times and things like that. And honestly, this outlet here, getting my, education in broadcasting and, somewhat in journalism and things like that, it's helped me get my creative side out in a little way as well. But, I've been thinking about making some merch or something like this. So if I really want this to grow, I need to go ahead and start treating it like it's going to be big time. There's no need for me to take baby steps. I'm already working on like I said, I've made my own artwork for it already. I'm already thinking about logo designs and everything for this, in my spare time and things like that. But like I said, I've got so much on my plate. I've got ideas in my head constantly. And I've got some t-shirt designs. I may be just releasing some mock-ups for it. It may be coming in the next week or so. I'll probably be releasing those more so on the Facebook page more than maybe my Twitter or Instagram accounts or anything like that. So if you're not following the Facebook page, like I said, I just reached 50 likes on that, which is pretty cool. And it's honestly, it's not even all my my family or friends or anything like that. I believe half of it is people outside of my circle on Facebook. So, like I said, you guys are awesome. Like I said, if this grows to, it keeps going to where I think and hope it's going to go, I really do, appreciate everything you guys are doing. I will constantly use that word because, it's always going to be humbling to me, these beginnings like this. So when I reach the point that if I am getting huge numbers in quotes or something like that, like I said, I will always look back on this time right here where I'm getting these smaller numbers to before I actually got the bigger numbers. But like I was about to say, like I said, I'm probably gonna start doing some mock-ups or things like that, and and I was also thinking, if any of you guys actually attend a big show or something like that, do your boy a favor, make an ATBT sign or something like that. Maybe we'll catch it on a screenshot or something at Raw or SmackDown or something like that. 'Cause I know some of you guys still might randomly go to events or something like that. I don't even care if you go to an NXT or Impact show or something like that. Just, make an ATBT sign or something for your boy, just for fun. Even if you're not on the front row, I don't care. Maybe we'll catch a glimpse of it. Just make sure it's noticeable. help your boy out, help us all out. Like I said, this is all for us here. This isn't really just about me. My name may be on it, but it's like I said, this is for all of us. So, let's stay in this together. But give me some feedback on that too. If I were to like I said, I have a Redbubble account. I do a lot of anime, manga, and a little bit of professional wrestling merch and stuff that's on it and things like that. It's original stuff. It's not necessarily, super copyrighted stuff. A lot of that stuff is just my original ideas. But if I were to put it on the t-shirts for the show on Redbubble and drop the mock-up down so it'll be cheaper for you guys just for fun, just to probably all you'd really have to do is pay shipping or something like that. Well, put it this way, I probably wouldn't make much off it, maybe like $1. You'll still have to pay Redbubble's manufacturing fees. I'll put the mock-up down on it so I won't make anything off of it. I'll do that as a favor to you guys. So give me some feedback on that. See if that's something you'd like to do. Like I said, I know this isn't some big movement at the moment, but let's start treating it like it's going to be. You never know. If you guys order one of those shirts or something like that, you never know. If somebody might actually ask you about it, we might actually start getting this out a little bit further. Now, let's just see where that goes. Anyway, on to the topic at hand today. And I don't know. Y'all know a lot of times when I get on here, there's one thing that I will always compare pro wrestling to a little bit. Because the two fandoms tie together. And a lot of you know this MMA. So what I wanted to get into today kind of evolved into, and it was a little bit of a conversation. I don't know if you want to call it a conversation. Like I said, when you get into things on Twitter, you can't put but so many things in 140 characters, and threads start getting out of control, and you're not responding to the right tweets and things like that occasionally. Sometimes you don't really, like I said, it doesn't end up being as civil as you want it to be, but sometimes it could still be civil, but the tone of the tweets can get a certain way. But the reason I bring that up is because I got into a little bit of a spat, I guess you could say. It wasn't like a knockout, drag down troll fest or anything like that with somebody on Twitter. And again, there's this whole big thing. Like I said, we all know Becky Lynch is pretty hot right now with the way she's acting and everything, because the fans think they made her and things like that. But the issue here, it seems to be that a lot of, they're not. This is what happens a lot of times with that segment of fans. No matter how much they have their fave, they take a opportunity to cut down the person that their fave is against. Because a lot of times that fave is perceived as the system. That fave is perceived as the man. It was the same thing with Phil and John Cena. It's the same thing when it comes to, I don't know, say Roman Reigns versus anybody. Roman Reigns is the system. John Cena is the system. Well, in this situation here, Charlotte Flair is the system. And because Charlotte Flair has the pedigree she has, because she is, she's second generation, she has the grooming. I mean, she has the look, she has the presence and all that good stuff. She's a natural. And Charlotte has, a lot of people don't say she's earned it, but I'm just like, she's a female. She's the female Flair. She's the, like I said, out of all of Rick's kids, she's the one who became the star. Think about that. Neither of his sons reached his level. It's almost possible that his daughter is about to be the female version of him. And it's been like one of the more shocking things that you can point out about this whole entire, women's revolution or this whole era of WWE. Like, because of what happened with David and Reed and things like that, I had no expectations for Charlotte. Or, if you want to call her by a real name, since they used his son's real name. I had no expectations for Ashley. I really didn't. But the girl, her natural athleticism, her natural presence, it's almost like initially you could probably say she was channeling her father a lot of times, but now it's just like she throws his moves in there just to pay homage to him. She's not really a Ric Flair clone in a female body. What she is just she's become her own person. She's become her own entity. That's why he calls her second nature, because she's advanced every single thing about him into what she's become now. These fans of Becky, they constantly want to believe that she's being handed everything simply because, she has chosen one written all over her too. But I'm just like, if you don't believe by watching her since NXT, if you watch her debut to now, if you don't believe she's worked hard on herself, on her character, on her entrance, on her ring gear and things like that, she gets it because of the pedigree she has. She was groomed by her father, but here's the thing. She watched every single thing he did to become what she is now. And can you fault her for doing that? I'm seriously, you can't do that, because, like I said, with a role model like that, his drinking and philandering issues aside, but seriously, as a business model, what better model could you follow than Ric Flair? I mean, you're going to chastise her for her DNA and uplift Becky because she doesn't have that type of pedigree? That's a problem. The main issue they're constantly saying now is because, Becky earned her way to the spot she's got now, and Charlotte's constantly being put in championship matches and things like that. So I'm gonna circle back around to the point I'm gonna get here. Y'all just bear with me a second, because, like I said, here's the thing. Charlotte is, how many times? If I'm not mistaken, she's a 7-time champion since she's been on the main roster. 7 times. I mean, she's got record-setting title reigns and far number of days and things like that and everything. But here's the thing. Because of that type of dominance, because of that type of record, because because of that type of, like, again, pedigree, how could you possibly keep Charlotte out of contendership with that type of resume? Think about that. And the reason I wanted to compare that to mixed martial arts when I was talking to this person online, and like I said, this made a perfect topic for a podcast like this, like I said, where I wanted to keep it topical, is because I thought about it. A lot of times in MMA, when you have a dominant champion, you get a guy you get used to seeing as champion, guy or girl, doesn't matter, just a dominant personality, a dominant champion, spectacular performances, knocking people out, submitting people, shutting them out, 5 rounds to none or something like that in decisions and things like that. A George St. Pierre, a BJ Penn at lightweight, or I don't know, a John Jones at light heavyweight, anything like that. Anderson Silva at middleweight. A lot of times what ends up happening is, even if the person ends up losing eventually, what usually happens? They usually get an immediate rematch. I mean, seriously. Like, take for instance, Anderson Silva, the great Anderson Silva, undefeated for 10 straight title defenses. Don't quote me on that. I might have to look this up while I'm talking here on the computer. But 10, we'll say, maybe it was 9. We'll say 9 straight title defenses. And the great Anderson Silva got knocked out by Chris Weidman, a guy who I expected absolutely nothing of in that fight. He got knocked out by Chris Weidman, goofing around the side. Yeah, that's what happened. And he got an instant rematch. BJ Penn, probably one of the more dominant lightweights of all time. Again, against another, Jersey type fighter, after a long dominant reign at lightweight, immediate rematch against Frankie Edgar after he lost. Why? Because that's what happens when you have a resume, when you have a pedigree, when you have a track record like that. Most of the time, you're not going to fall far in the rankings. Think about it. Majority of the time, if a UFC fighter, any type of top contender, if they lose the championship, they're usually still the number one contender, and they'll probably fall no farther than second. So if you look at it in the logical sense, if you're still the number one contender, more likely you're either going to get a rematch, or like say if the guy behind you had a dominant performance as well, and maybe he's on like a win streak or something like that, and you can't deny him the next shot, him or her, they'll probably get it. Or, and here's the thing, then maybe you'll drop to 2, but if you probably win your next fight, you'll still be in top contention. See what I'm saying here? So you got to keep these things in perspective. So in the way combat sport rankings work a lot of times, if you want to, like I say, we're going to keep this comparison here between mixed martial arts and pro wrestling, even though one's real and one's scripted. You'll understand what I'm trying to say here by the end of it, I promise. But so if you want to keep rankings in perspective, here's how it's usually going to be. A lower ranked fighter beats a higher ranked fighter. More than likely, that person that was lower ranked is going to move up. And a lot of times the best thing to do is probably split the difference in between the ranks between the fighters. Like say, if there was no choice but for the number 2 guy to fight the number 6 guy, the number 6 guy beats the number 2 guy, it just stands to reason, since there's 4 places in between them, they either flip-flop in the rankings, or at minimum, the guy at number 2, let's say he drops to 3, and no, we'll put it this way. We'll just say the guy at 2 probably drops to 4, and the guy that was at 6, maybe he either moves up to 2 or 3. It also depends on what goes on in the rankings above, you know what I'm saying, in the same division as well. Okay, and like I say, in the same sense, the higher ranked fighter loses to a lower ranked fighter, the higher ranked fighter is going to drop. Okay, and if you can apply this, you can apply the same metric to sports entertainment. Now, it'd be ridiculous to try and keep rankings in something that's scripted. Okay, I mean, SmackDown Live tried that, the whole top 10 list, for about 2 weeks, and it didn't do anything other than make a ridiculous storyline. But you can use it in a kayfabe sense. Like say, like, okay, in sports entertainment, whether you want to admit it or not, there is a pecking order when it comes to talent. Okay, there's a pecking order, and you know who your top talent is, you know who your mid-carders are, and you know who your enhancement talent or jobbers are. Now, if you want to elevate the jobber, sometimes, a lot of times they're going to beat like a top contender just for the shock and awe factor. Now, keeping this in perspective of what's been going on with the outrage about Charlotte constantly getting title shots against people like Becky, I want you to think about this. Charlotte has never lost to Lana. Okay? The only time Charlotte seems to lose is to the champion. So, until Charlotte loses to, I don't know, say, one of the Iconics on SmackDown Live, or like I said, or Lana, somebody who just comes out there, with ridiculous theme music and dancing, who has no redeeming value in the ring, but she's fun when she's alongside her husband. Until Charlotte loses to somebody like that, she's always going to be in contention. Period. And that's how contendership should always work. Until you flat out lose to somebody who is ridiculously below you, you'll never really lose your spot. Just like I said before in a previous episode, Charlotte only really, lost her. She got injured, and then she came back, and of course she got put into that match at SummerSlam where she regained her title. She, like I said, she wrestled through the ruptured implant for, in order to get to Carmella's cash-in. Okay? She wrestled through that. She didn't let that keep her. She didn't let, like I said, a ruptured implant could probably poison your system. I don't know. Like I said, a lot of these women, they go through a lot of that in silent a lot of time, but people start putting this out online a lot more now, especially the WWE, when it comes to things like this. Like I said, that's not something to play with. Okay, she still wrestled through it in order to get to Carmella's cash in so she could rehab for like a month and get it repaired. So here's the thing, like, as I've said before, there's an unwritten rule in sports. Again, if we're gonna keep this real, and I'll get to that in a second as well, but if we're gonna keep this real and keep this, legit, there's this unwritten rule in sports that you don't lose your spot to injury. Hence, she came back and they put her back in the title picture. Why? Because, she lost it to a cash-in. Cash-ins are seen as you losing technically to a champion. As weird as that may sound, it's the truth. That's how they put, like I said, the Money in the Bank briefcase is basically considered a title because you can put it on the line. It can be defended. So technically, in a way, you're a champion in waiting. So being cashed in on, you basically lost to a champion. So when she got back, she got put in the title picture. Okay, then she won it. And then we've got the whole storyline with Becky freaking out and turning into what she is right now. Is this all starting to make sense in a little bit? Okay, like I said, when a champ loses, they're more likely still the number one contender. Like I said, until Charlotte loses to someone that's truly beneath her, which she hasn't done yet. Like I said, she's beaten Asuka at WrestleMania, somebody who y'all think, a lot of you think is like well above her, but she's not. Okay, until she has a bad loss, she'll always be in title contention. I got into a lot of spat about that back and forth in many different ways because the guy brought back why the whole about how Finn, when he won the initial Universal title, how he got injured and everything. Well, there's a difference between that. Finn got injured during the match. Technically, he never even got a chance to defend it. He never actually held the title per se. He got injured during the match. Okay, he was only champion on paper. Charlotte actually defended her title multiple times before she had to, before she had to leave because of that implant. Okay, at that point, she had the longest SmackDown title run. Finn never even stepped in the ring at all to defend the title, which is why he hasn't sniffed it since. He's yet even proved that he even deserves to come back to it. Like I said, if you want to keep this real, and I thought about it too. I think I've been a little bit disingenuous about using that word. I had to think about it today. I don't think this crop of fans, and this comes from the Meltzer line of thinking as well, I don't think real is the word I need to be using. I don't think they want it to be treated like it's real anymore. I think the word I need to be using here is serious. I think that's the thing. I don't think they believe that they want this to be treated like it's real. They want this to be treated, in a more serious fashion. I think they believe if this was treated as a more serious product, it would get more over. Because of the athleticism and the crop of wrestlers that they have now, I think they believe if this was treated in a little bit more serious tone rather than the vein of more super promo heavy, super scripted television heavy, which is why I can understand why they like the less scripted. Well, it's not less scripted; it's actually more produced NXT, which is why I believe they prefer the more serious tone and more, scaled back tone that is NXT. Because in a way, Triple H treats it, I don't know, he gives them he doesn't give them as many bells and whistles, TV bells and whistles, because it's not on TV. And I don't know, let me know what you guys think about that. Because, like I said, is it real or is it serious? What do you think they really want it to be? Because I thought about that today. Actually on the way to the studio, I think that's the word now. Because that's the one thing Meltzer puts over a lot about New Japan. How serious the people in Japan take it. How serious they put on the show. And the main thing I think he likes the most is the fact, is those post-match interviews and stuff backstage, making it look like, I don't know, some sort of aftermath of a UFC fight. Or some sort of, post game press conference in the NBA or something like that, serious sports interview and things like that. And that's one of the main things he puts over about all that. And I thought about it, I'm just like, that's what they want. But the more ESPN attempts to cover the WWE, the more people crack on them about it. I mean, the more people ask them not to do it. Nobody, like I said, no one does that in America. No one buys into that here. The majority of us don't, I should say. And I understand, okay, put it this way. I mean, if you follow Jimmy Corderas on Twitter, I'll put him in the description to this podcast as well. But he has a tendency to just destroy marks online when they come at him at certain things. And somebody actually did bring up a good point. That when ESPN is covering it, they don't say, okay, we're interviewing Kobe Lopez. They say we got Seth Rollins here. And if you're gonna keep this in a kayfabe way, it's never gonna truly be treated serious here in America. Until you actually until these guys actually come out there and be themselves or something like that, maybe then it'll be treated in a more serious manner here. But the more serious it actually is, the less people seem to like it, which is why I don't believe the NXT product will ever get over on television. I really don't. I mean, as dark and subtle and everything there's nothing entertaining about it. If you're going to be on television, if you're going to be episodic, you got to have some entertainment value. Like I said, you can't take scripted combat serious when you can, like I said, say UFC, if I'm not mistaken, they're not going to be on Fox anymore because WWE's coming to Fox. But here's the thing: if you can go from watching somebody get choked out for real and knocked unconscious for real, even in a replay in a UFC fight, but sit there and watch these guys do, 6-way drop kicks, and tope hurricane ranas on the other end, nobody's really going to take that serious. Not here, they're not. I don't know. Like I said, it's just something that kind of hit me on the way here. And I don't know, will it work? If we did treat it more serious in this country, would the product get better? Because I can constantly get on here and I can talk about it, how bad things are, how they're not getting better. But I don't know. Am I really offering any solutions? But I can say this, treating it more serious isn't going to actually do it much better. Let me know what you guys think about that. But again, back to the original point of this, which I guess you can tie it into it as well. So if you do want this to be taken serious, then you need to take it as seriously as real combat takes it as well. You may not like a certain wrestler still being in the title picture, but if that wrestler does not have a bad loss, just like, say, if a certain UFC fighter or any MMA organization's fighter does not have a bad loss on their record, if they're still beating the competition that's in front of them, they're still beating the top contenders, I'm sorry, they're always going to be in title contention. Now, here's the thing. There comes a time when you can see when an MMA fighter is not going to overcome the champion. Is not going to be able to overcome the championship, fight jitters. It's not going to be able to, it maybe doesn't have the cardio to go 5 rounds in a championship fight or something like that. Maybe they've had multiple title shots and they just can't seem to win the big one. Okay, maybe then you finally just say, okay, either drop a weight class or, okay, we're just going to make you the, quote, gatekeeper of the division. Okay, there comes a time when that happens in real combat. Here's the thing. In scripted combat, you can be in the position I want you in so long as I write you there. And therein always will lie the difference. Okay? No matter how seriously you want to take this, and every single time I try to compare it to something that's real, these people don't seem to get it. Listen, you can't have it both ways. Okay? You've wanted to take it seriously, fine. Then understand that when somebody is still dominant, when somebody has a great resume, especially in something that's scripted, you got to keep them there. And once you, like I said, it'll be a death knell if you actually do write them. Like I said, certain people can take a loss and stay relevant, like The Miz. Okay, that takes a special skill. Okay, you can still constantly talk your way into main events and things like that. Yeah, make yourself sound awesome when you after you take a loss and still manage to, come back and win the next week or something like that. Stuff like that will matter because it's scripted. But don't be mad at Charlotte because she's got the resume, because she's got the pedigree, and because she's proven herself when she's in the spot. She never misses a time when she's champion. Don't put that on her. The company knows what they're doing when they write certain characters, when they write certain wrestlers a certain way. You got to be able to deliver all the time. And she's one of those people. So until, like I said, she catches that bad L, she's always going to be a contender, whether you like it or not. And when it's time for her, to take that L to somebody that they may want to elevate, I don't know, maybe when they call Bianca Belair or somebody like that up from NXT, which is something a lot of you people like to put over a lot. I say you people a lot on here a lot of times, but most of the time I know I'm speaking to my audience rather than the people that I'm pointing out. But a lot of those people like to put over, like I said, somebody, Dakota Kai or somebody like that comes up from NXT. When it's time for Charlotte to take that L, then it'll mean something. It will. Wins and losses need to matter, right? Okay, you can't just have the person losing for no reason. We've said that before on here. And losing to a top contender, somebody that's always in the title fight or something like that, it's always going to mean more than somebody that's just, wallowing around doing random segments. You got to be able to use contendership to your advantage. Now, I'll always give the WWE props for doing that with their top talent. That's one thing I can always put them over for. And that's what I'll be doing here in this situation right here. Whether you or Becky or Becky's fans like it or not, that's just what it is. You're going to be dealing with Charlotte to the end of time. Deal with it. So as the buckle turns for this week, everybody. Appreciate everybody for tuning in as always. New episode drops every Saturday, unless I say otherwise. So please give a like, subscribe, share, follow. Give me some feedback. Give me some topics. I'm struggling a little bit lately to come up with material because of everything's coming down to the wire here with graduation around the corner, like I said. So bear with me a little bit. So, yeah, like I said, give me some feedback on some things. Let me know what you think about the merch. Like I said, I'll probably put a poll or something up on the Facebook page, and the mock-ups will be coming soon. So keep an eye out for that. As always, we're in this together. Till then, it's Adrian. That's the buckle turns. See you next time.